Traigo a los gangsters más gangsters de la zona y vengo con la familia gang. ¿Cómo dice? Llaman al rey.
Traigo el mensaje puro y crudo para el momento. No palabras vanas que rompen los sentimientos. Lucharé y derribaré los muros del lamento. Pídeme pues te daré los sueños que están muertos. Nunca el demonio dio mensajes de amor, pero tampoco los dio el ángel que nos abandona. Quizás miremos diferente el reloj, pero tu cielo es el infierno donde el amor murió. Political violence, criminal silence, physical redemption hasta que acabe el baile. Typical styler, musical fraile. Mucha es la promesa en la que se han llevado el aire. Love and love and love, siente verdad como doy mi corazón. No more, no more, no more. It's a reggae cypher, feed the world. What time is it? Es de reventar el beat. Throw the tangle in the street. Reggae music on the hit. Romperemos las barreras que crearon para ti, pues llegaron los señores y la paz de nuevo aquí. What time is it? Es de reventar el beat. Throw the tangle in the street. Reggae music on the hit. Romperemos las barreras que crearon para ti, pues llegaron los señores y la paz de nuevo aquí.
Fue que me brotaron alas y ganas de volar. En las buenas mi terreno lleno, en las malas solar. Un muro que decorar, mis hermanos me sirven de guía, mi estrella polar. Guarda los hilos, me duele hasta respirar. Solo quiero ver verdad. Sigo buscándome lejos de lo que piensas. Más fácil de lo que crees, el esfuerzo trae recompensas. Vale la experiencia si es intensa. No tires de la cuerda si está tensa. Miraban al ocaso con tristeza. Las estrellas devolvían con grandeza su mirar. Nos vimos floreciendo en la maleza. La belleza de las piezas y comienzan a encajar.
What time is it? Es de reventar el beat. Throw the tangle in the street. Reggae music on the hit. Romperemos las barreras que crearon para ti, pues llegaron los señores y la paz de nuevo aquí. What time is it? Es de reventar el beat. Throw the tangle in the street. Reggae music on the hit. Romperemos las barreras que crearon para ti, pues llegaron los señores y la paz de nuevo aquí.
51, 52, con un micro de bambú, más vuelta que Passepartout. Me siento en la old school. It's magnetic kung fu, it's a reggae magnatur. Por las almas sonrientes que acompañan a Zazú. En bambalinas y balú, son rimas de menú, no salidas de Benur, pero calidad y del sur. Homie, always lonely, but I feeling like a gangsta. 52, 53, a mí sí me ves venir, por eso me llaman King, ese fue mi devenir. De marchar o seguir, nunca tuve que elegir, la music me eligió a mí, no tengo nada más que decir. Saifa, Puniga, Loba, Grimble, Fire, Killaman, Smoker, Chusta, feel like a Rasta, Child Metal, Kimanes, original a reggae Saifa again.
Interna en la villa del pingüino, entre los calin en la antena y los que se encuentran dormidos zarandean tus emociones cual barril de vino, cosas feas quizás en tus ideas, pero aquí no, yo no atino, disparo sin mirar a todo aquel vampiro que bien te quiera hincarme, bro. Si lo digo, no es para pensar, sino para aclarar lo que tú siempre estás pensando. Acaba el tan magnífico, imposible de torcer metal, sustar my friend, reggae warriors again, making connection after connection, my new world, creating the freedom from them, me more. Nanny boy represent this game.
What time is it? Es de reventar el beat. Throw the tangle in the street. Reggae music on the hit. Romperemos las barreras que crearon para ti, pues llegaron los señores y la paz de nuevo aquí. What time is it? Es de reventar el beat. Flow the jungle in the street. Reggae music on the hit. Romperemos las barreras que crearon para ti, pues llegaron los señores y la voz
No
de
hace
nueva.
falta presentación si existe nivel. Sobreviviendo en Babilonia escribí al papel mis problemas cuando al final pude entender que para ser feliz solo tienes que querer. Y solamente hay una vida y es para vivir. Busca siempre una alternativa para seguir. No dejes nunca que te digan que no es así. Y prende un poco de sativa para estar chill. Ey, superando ansiedades con el humo de cancha. Manchas de un pasado trágico en la cancha. Seguimos siendo fuertes, su mierda no me engancha. Mientras otros esperando a que lleguen en lancha. No matter where you come, no matter where you come from. Solo importa que prestes atención a este sound. Desde the original, kill a man al mando. Oh, na, na, na.
Mira, soy un warrior, sonido legendario. Disfruto cada segundo cuando me subo al escenario. Tengo fuego en los labios, sigo cual mercenario. Pasos de gigante y cora revolucionario. Siento que es necesario, suena el reggae en los barrios, para que cale el mensaje y para salvar a los más sabios. Entre mi imaginario, quemo cheques bancarios. Si vienes con la mala vibra, mejor bro, cambia tu itinerario. Ya, 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 ya. Cuando ruge el león suena la música real. Venimos con el ya, 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 ya. Sonido de guiones, el sonido original. Ya, 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 ya. Reggae de corazón es el que se hace en unidad. Ya, 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 ya.
What time is it? Es de reventar el beat. Flow the jungle in the street. Reggae music on the hit. Romperemos las barreras que crearon para ti, pues llegaron los señores y la paz de nuevo aquí. What time is it? Es de reventar el beat. Flow the jungle in the street. Reggae music on the hit. Romperemos las barreras que crearon para ti, pues llegaron los señores y la paz de nuevo aquí.
Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins.
Copyright disclaimer. This content does not belong to Bible Chronicles or claim this intellectual property. The content provided today has and always will belong to the content owner. Bible Chronicles does not have any affiliation with the owner of this property. As mentioned, Bible Chronicles did not intend to make use of any material for the purpose of harvesting gain. However, Title 17 of United States copyright law states material and use can only be done when it's for theological or general educational purposes, and thus Bible Chronicles believes that this principal material falls under fair use, which honors protection under Section 107 of the same U.S. copyright law.
Mexicano bandido, todo el barrio prendido, siempre ando bien cuido, siempre poniendo ruido. Mexicanos al grito de guerra, yo defiendo mi tierra, no me dejo de nadie, yo cuido a los míos, mi raza se aferra. Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera, yo la levanto por donde quiera, verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera, el barrio prendido ya quemó afuera. Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera, yo la levanto por donde quiera, verde,
verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera.
Me voy tendido, me voy empinando mi bote, un poco mareado por la bebida y el borlote. Me tiene hasta la riata la gente con su mitote, pero me despreocupo, me pelan todo el garrote. Me para la chota, ya es por mi apariencia, que hay tantos delitos, que hay tanta demencia. Yo no cargo nada, no más mi presencia. Pinche puerco joto, atente a las consecuencias. Si nos topa el boy en breve nos para en la calle. No puede salir uno conmigo porque ya hay detalles. No quiere que conteste, quiere que yo solo calle. Quiere mi dinero pero que chingue su madre. A la dica este sistema nos quieren ver abajo, pero tumbar gente, quien les dijo que es trabajo. Puro chingar al indio, váyanse mucho al carajo. Loco no me rajo, lo bueno porque
se armó la alianza más pesada del país. Todo el mundo ya conoce las rimas de estos MCs. Pa' ponerme más feliz, unos paisas de hachís, mis paisas en el gabacho, bien truchas con la polis. Loco en Guanajuato, con los ojos bien tumbados, de coto con el quesada, rifando por todos lados. Atento si prendo un blunt en cabina cuando grabo. Represento Nuevo León junto a mi carnal el Davo. Cuando voy pa' Jalisco el pasado está olvidado. Con el perro de la C bien grifo, pedo y enfiestado. Chécate mi banderón, unido como había soñado. Bien bajado ese balón, compa Lefty bien bajado. Puro hip hop mexa hasta que amanezca. Pásenme un mezcal y que nos tenemos pilas pa' lo que se ofrezca. Si escribo estas rimas es pa' que se enorgullezca.
verde marihuana, blanca cocaína, roja la sangre que escurre de una nueva herida. Yo salí de la ruina, nunca se me olvida. Con disciplina y respeto sigo en siempre la movida. Ando bien high, la vida es un freestyle. Disfruta lo que hay, vivo entre el bien y el mal, carnal. Crazy life todo el día viendo live. Pinto tu barda con spray, lo que canto es real. Azules y rojas las sirenas que me persiguen. No suben pa' la virgen, salen todos cuando chifle. Mi barrio no lo pisen, que andamos todos grises. Maldito policía, no quiero que me revises. Prende la mota en Canala o en Hitter. Ando con mi flota y el dealer. Tenemos lo que se te ofrezca, tú nada más pide. Me dijo mi madre que de la envidia me cuide.
Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera. Yo la levanto por donde quiera. Verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera. Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera. Yo la levanto por donde quiera. Verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera.
Ya, ábranse cabrones, llegó el mexicano partiendo sin necesidad de palanca. Todos jugamos en la misma liga, yo soy titular, tú ves desde la banca. Disfruto cada cosa que me pasa, colaboro y mi carrera se levanta. El mismo cabrón que antes no tenía nada se la pasa viajando y dice que canta. Por eso me caga enfermarme de la garganta. Pero aguanta, traigo mata natural y humo de planta. 2, 3 cabrones dando lata y yo haciendo más plata. De esto la vida se trata y pa' que sepas no es barata. MC Davo los desbarata con cada escalón que sube. Yo tuve la suerte de hacerme fama en YouTube. Hay 2, 3 raperos de antaño que me bajé de su nube. Los mandé pa' su casa y de premio hasta les pagué el Uber. Si alguien me tira es porque sabe bien que domino el negocio y quiere de mi parte. No quiero darlas de grande, pero si me tiras la neta me toca humillarte. Soy capitán, llevo el estandarte. Somos muy pocos los que hacemos arte. Este flow si es de Marte, tú dale like y comparte.
México lindo y bandido, diario a Diosito le pido que me cuide a la familia si un día el cora ya no late. Estoy bendecido porque me cuidan los míos. Orgullosamente me exatamos locos de remate. Jaque mate, no hable de volar si viene gateando. La cosa por la frontera se pone violenta, no importa el rango. Toda la raza jalándole duro, si hay algo seguro es la muerte en donde ando. Sudor y la sangre en la frente, los de alzada controlando. Se roban la atención, ya saben quiénes son. Vatos locos con sazón como el de un corridón. No quiera tomarme el pelo si ando todo pelón. Levantando la bandera, viva México cabrón.
Es el perrito de la C.
La bandera con un águila, Simón, mi tierra es esta. Me vale si mi piel o si mi acento les molesta. Acá jalan horas extras, nunca duermen la siesta. Están los que van pa'l jale y los que la viven de fiesta. Otros que en el pintón se tatúan de corazón. 3 colores en el pecho, morirían por su nación. Aunque su puto gobierno los puso en la situación de no terminar la escuela y terminar en la prisión. ¡Viva México, ladrones! ¿Qué hubo, les presidente? Ya saben que por mí policías chinguen a 20. Y ahí están mis 20 pa' la cagua. Aguas, que es tierra caliente de Chiapas hasta Chihuahua. Wow, 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 yipi yo, yipi yucas. Buenas Montequín,
mexicano, esa es mi bandera. Yo la levanto por donde quiera. Verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera. Soy mexicano, esa es mi bandera. Yo la levanto por donde quiera. Verde, blanco, rojo hasta que muera. El barrio prendido ya quemó afuera.
Puro hip hop mexa, perros, 2023.
Ey yo, ey yo. Somos la santa carnal. Ey, ey,
Los machidones de la plaza.
oye, DJ donde que los scratches. Desde alzada, mi perro. No saben quién soy o sí.
Todos vienen a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La dignidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
All right, I hope you guys can hear me. Hope you guys can hear me. Buenas noches. Saludos, Rayak, Issachar, BTC, what's up? Hope y'all doing well. And everyone else is watching. Hope y'all doing well. Maybe you might like this. Uh-oh, shoot. Anyhow, I'll throw that in there every now and then. But for you guys that don't know this channel,
¡Viva México, cabrones!
and for you guys that came from that BHI, you know what this means.
That's right.
All right, man. All right, so topic is called propaganda. Propaganda. That's what we're going to tackle today. And I'm going to basically show y'all how propaganda is very misleading, can mislead, and will mislead. If you are not, I don't know. I would say if you're not rooted, but others will say some other things. So let's start off with, first of all, I hope everybody's well. Let me see what you said. Forgive me, brother. My phone. You good, bro? Don't trip. I know something's happening when that happens. It's all good, man. Don't even worry about it. But it's good to have you guys, man. Let's get this going.
Who are you?
That's what I'm talking about, man. Who are you? So now, this goes to you scholars and so-called enriched, highly educated, so far beyond intellect. How do you miss this? This is from here. I'm gonna show you the picture. So we're gonna see these two books real quick. You guys know this one. The famous, the Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, or just the American racism. Everybody knows about this, man. If you're in the truth, And in case you guys don't know, brother was asking me about certain things, and I said, well, I thought, well, maybe me include it in today's show, because some of you guys call it a show, like Chicloso likes to call it a show. I hope you're still alive, bro. All right, maybe you're still going through the fire. It's all good, man. We love you, brother. We love you. The Colombian Exchange. We're gonna look at these two, okay? But this is the one that catches my attention a lot. Either you guys didn't read the whole book and you said you did, or you don't know how to read. I'll get to the point. Because, what are you doing then? Page 169, it reads, how do you miss this? How do you miss this? Great scholars, hold on a second. This is from the famous Promised Lands. Everybody, all great scholars, they say they're the experts. How do you miss this if you said you read this book? So let me read it. 169, paragraph number 1. Estebanico was undoubtedly not the only black slave to have come along on this expedition. Again, the topic is called propaganda. Let me start it off like this. Indeed, we know that for a fact, not an assumption, let me guess. No, for a fact that when Narvaez, which is a black negro conquistador, had gone to Mexico in 1520, intending to bring Cortez to his knees. So there was a fight between these conquistadors. Cortez, my understanding, was not an African, more of a Sephardic. I'll explain it. To a number of black servants, let me read it again. In 1520, intending to bring Cortez to his knees. So there was a fight between these two. A number of black servants had accompanied his army. One of them, Narvaez's personal slave. So blacks had blacks enslaved as well. Don't let that surprise you. I don't know why all of a sudden you got these channels with these Negro brothers, so-called. I'm going to see that because that's what they want to be called. And it's like so-called apparently Freemasonry and black people, boulets. Can black folks really go against you? Bro, I've been saying this for almost 2 years now, for God's sake. I kept saying it takes some Mexican. All of a sudden, you got black people now telling you, now it's believable. Now you guys believe me now. All of a sudden, you guys want to believe me now. I almost 2 years. One of them, Narvaez's personal slave, was later said by chronicler to have been the man. Let me slow that down. Was later said by chronicler to have been the man who introduced smallpox into Mexico. One of Narvaez's slave, a black servant. This can be read either as a racial slander or as a real form of cosmic revenge by the victim against the entire New World scene of his captivity, directed against the white men and Indians. Makes you wonder now. Now I kept telling you why Psalms 83 is no joke. Like a plague on both their houses. What are we seeing now? Who is trying to be you Mexicans? You see, now you got the gringo kind of like, oh, no, we're sorry. And then you got the negros, it's ours. Are you not seeing it? Now, this is from the Promised Lands. How do you miss that, scholars? It says, Bernal Diaz tells of another Negro in Narvaez's Mexican expeditionary force, a jester named Guidela, who went over to Cortez's side along with most of the white troops in it. You see what we're talking about now, a mixture of black and white conquistadors. This is in the promised land. This is that famous book y'all been reading. You got your great scholars. What happened to you experts? Where you experts at, man? Golly, bruh. One doubts whether he was rewarded for his gesture with this freedom. One does not hear of black slaves in the New World obtaining their freedom within organized society during this period. The only perceptible quantity of free blacks were runaways, the cimarrones, so called because, remember that name, cimarrones, or maroons or Moors. Okay? Remember that. So called because they tended to live in rebel bands and fastedness of mountaintops, cimas in Spanish. Cimas, like, hills. If you read the Black Indian or something, that book, I think it's called Black Indian. Hold on. Yeah, something like that. It talks about these Moors mixing and stealing women, native and also Africanish women. It's kind of intriguing. But see, when you don't read, you get confused with a couple of paragraphs. The English would later transform this name into the Maroons. Okay, so we're getting an example here. We see now again, perhaps Estebanico, apparently a man of some sophistication, already had ideas of his own about the possibilities of Afro-Indian relationships. Perhaps it even seemed to him that it should be blacks who led Indians. Huh.
Bruh. Wait a minute. Who are you?
Does that not ring a bell? The 12 tribe chart, isn't this what they say? We're the same people, Ak, but we number one. You on the bottom is a card. Oof. Because you're a silly dove, you know what I'm saying? You're just a burro, homeboy. That's all you are. You're just good for working, eh? That's it. You know what I'm saying? Perhaps Estebanico, apparently a man of his sophistication, already had had ideas of his own about the possibility of an Afro-Indian relationship. Perhaps it even seemed to him that it should be blacks who lead Indians. The old world commanding the new, not the other way around. This is in the Promised Lands. Pretty intriguing, isn't it? Very interesting, I say. And for the brother, this is the book that I was telling you, the one there, The Columbian Exchange, okay, by Alfred W. Crosby, Jr. or Jr. On page 48, you can start there. You can read all the way from the top. You can go back, but it kind of gets to the point. It says on the bottom, before the last paragraph ends, when the Christians were exhausted from war, God saw fit to send the Indian smallpox. Let me read that again. When the Christians were exhausted from war, God saw fit to send the Indians smallpox. And there was a great pestilence in the city. So if it wasn't for a combination of these things outside of the curses, just the fact that it's a curse, through the scriptures, this would have not ever happened. Now, here's the beautiful thing about knowing your history. It's not about causing hate or anybody. No, listen, family. Like the scriptures say, when I was a child, I thought as a child. I acted as a child. I read information as a child. I interpreted things as a child. But when I became a man, I read as a man. I thought as a man. And I interpreted things as a man. And I applied them as how a man's supposed to apply them to protect his household. So in this particular case, I'm looking at history for what it is. Facts tell, stories sell. You can go try to sell somebody some other shit somewhere else. It ain't going to work here. With the men of Narvaez had come a black man suffering from smallpox. Now, in this channel, we're not separating and saying, oh, we're going to treat certain people better because, it wasn't only them. No, I'm going to treat y'all the same. There's no respecter of people here. You want to die, go ahead and you die. I ain't dying with you. And he infected, by the way, with Narvaez, again, confirming the Promised Lands, the book, and other books I have, and the one I showed you guys in Spanish, can't remember the name right now, with the men of Narvaez had come a black man suffering from smallpox. And he, hold on a second.
That's right.
Not anybody else, not the white man. It was he.
Viene a decirnos con mucha
Stop. I don't want to do that. He infected the household in Sompuela where he was quartered. And it spread from one Indian to another.
That's right.
You see that? Thank you, lady. And they, being so numerous, okay, and eating and sleeping together, right? Because that's typically how we function. We typically are people of our gente. We want to socialize with each other. That's the way we work. That's how raza works. That's how so-called, well, I don't want to say Hispanic, indigenous, the gente from this continent. That's how we work. We want to be with our gente, with our people, moms, dads, children, friends, wives, husbands. Like that's just how we are. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Then hey, it is what it is. Together, quickly infected the whole country. The Mexicans had never seen smallpox before and did not have even the Europeans' meager knowledge. So now it's saying that certain people of Europe understood what this plague was about. And black and white people understood what this plague was about. So then let me come in here with my simpleton mentality because, I don't know any better because I'm dumb like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to be like, wait a minute. I mean, I'm at least smart enough, at least a little bit, to remember this right here. I know at least I studied hard enough to remember this. Deuteronomy 28:27, the Lord shall smite thee with the botch of Egypt and with the emerods and with the scab and with the itch whereof thou cannot be healed. Okay, now, when you look at the curses from here to here, okay, let me give you a little inside track. Physical, right up until then. You see, in Deuteronomy 28:15, it says, and it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God to observe and to do all his commandments, not some of them, not a portion, all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Now, check this out. Physical curse. Curse shall thou be in the city. Curse shall thou be thy basket. Curse shall be the fruit of thy body. Curse shall thou be when thou comest in. Verse 20, the Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke. Verse 21, the Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee. Consumption, the heavens above, the rain, smitten before thine enemies, carcasses, and then the botch of Egypt. All of it physically affecting us, and then the madness comes. Then the madness comes. I was going to say, let me show you something, but I don't want to be funny here. Then the madness comes. So I'm like, okay, I know that this happened to us, but I don't remember this happening to them. And then verse 36, me, my simple way, I'm simple. I don't know any better, right? So I'm like, what? The verse 36 also says something very interesting. We all know the first part. I'll read it, but the second part is what catches me. Deuteronomy 28:36. Now remember, these are people from a nation from afar, from the end of the earth that we don't know about. Here it testifies this, confirms what I'm talking about. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee. Okay, we already read that. We've heard that. There's a lot of ways to go about that. Here's the other part. Unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. You see, so me as a simple person, I'm like, wait a minute. The Mexicans had never seen smallpox before and did not have even the European meager knowledge of how to deal with it. The old soldier chronicler Bernal Diaz del Castillo had called the Negro a very black dose for Mexico. I'm sorry, a very black dose, for it was because of him that the whole country was stricken with the great many death. So you see this, what I'm saying? Europe knew about this disease. They knew about this disease. They brought this disease. and they knew this disease, but they told us, these guys here, that these guys here, from my understanding, was white folks, brought, what is it? Brought smallpox to us. That's what we've been told. Now, again, the topic is propaganda. Those are the books. That's the material. So now, somebody text me. Well, they didn't text me. I'm going to show y'all. And I only caught it. I guess YouTube is, well, I don't know how YouTube, to be honestly, how it works. But I don't always get notifications when people put stuff. And I guess I get notifications when people respond, maybe. Maybe that's what happens. So today, I got this. Somebody replied to this person. Let me see. Post. I'm going to show y'all. Watch this real quick. And it made me, because again, it's propaganda. And this is propaganda. And I'm going to call it for what it is. Effing propaganda. So it's time to kill it for what it is, family. I'm going to put it to sleep. Unless you guys want to consider following this nonsense, when y'all do what you want to do. But I'm only going to show you. And that's all I got to do. I appreciate this brother for him making a comment. But you're going to see where his understanding starts waving off. And I'm going to show you how you better know what you're doing. You better know how you're studying. And you better know what you're following and saying. Because, listen, man, nobody makes fun of the Most High. Facts tell, stories sell. My brother, I am a Mexican and Pima Yaqui. Over the past 8 years, the Most High has called me back to the faith of my fathers. All glory. And because I humbled myself to understand his Torah and his prophets, that's good. He has shown me great things about our people. Hokam of the Southwest are believed to be here around 300 BC. Okay. Hokam is Hebrew for the wise ones. They disappeared, but their descendants live on through the native tribes of the Southwest. It is interesting that you will also find the Four Corners monument in the Southwest. Also, who are the only people who today still wear fringes, tzitzits on their garments? I also recently discovered that Christopher Columbus did not come here and enslave the indigenous. Okay, you see this? Okay. But was a crypto Jew who saved Sephardic Jews of Spain by helping them to escape the New World Arsaret. I believe when these Hebrews from the land of Spain, Iberia, Eber arrived, it was to join with Hohokam brother to serve Yahweh or Yahweh, or I don't know how he's going to say it. Yah or Yahoo is technically, it's been historically found now. Well, whatever. You guys don't ever believe me, but I haven't been wrong. Who brought them over on eagle's wings? Deuteronomy 32:9. We have never disappeared, but we did forget our creator in favor of the Roman God, or man God. Yahweh, Yahweh, or YHWH is gathering us in these latter days where we will sukkot tent TP with him and with all the Yasharal, Ephraim, Shalom. All right. So I don't blame the brother. I don't know him. And by the way, I'm not one to tell you what you are, what you're not. If you believe this is what you are, well then shit, that's what you are. Can I tell you? But, well, what I'm about to show you may be painful, but whatever. I guess it don't matter, right? I don't know shit. A genealogical history, Jews and Muslims in British colonial America. Pay attention to this. By Elizabeth Hirschman and Donald Yates. Let's begin. We're going to start from the top. I took quick pictures, and I'm only going to read the highlighted parts. So it says here, preface. We postulate that many of the initial colonists, we know what the word colonist means. Let's make sure that we understand the definition of colonist before we continue on Colonist meaning. All right. It means a settler in or inhabitant of a colony. Colonist definition, a member or inhabitant of a colony, especially a person who migrates to settle in a foreign area as part of a colony. Colonizer. We know that that relates to the word as well. So let's read it. One that colonizes an individual or entity that establishes a colony, colonies. Nations takes control of a people or an area as an extension of state power, which is very true. Okay. So now it says we postulate that many of the initial colonists were of Sephardic Jewish and Moorish ancestry.
Que alguien me explique! Who are you?
Drew Ali, should we consider thee? Colonists were of Sephardic Jewish and Muslim Moorish ancestry. We see a relationship, which is why I kept saying Revelation 2:9 and 3:9 are for a purpose together, usually arriving as crypto Jews with their religious adherents disguised, and crypto Muslims. You're going to see this quite often. Okay, let's continue. It says here, of course, both Spain and France had already made forays into North America, founding in St. Augustine and exploring parts of the coastline as far north of Newfoundland through their activity as foreign powers are given short shift in our Anglo-centric version of Birth of America. Check this out. What is even less frequently mentioned regarding the Spanish and French settlements and voyages is that many of the colonizers, remember, we weren't colonists, family, and sailors, these are people that transport individuals. Okay? Let's not forget these things. Let's not be ignorant. We're of Sephardic, Jewish, and Muslim Moorish descent. We read a book before about how Jews and Muslims or Moors work together and how they too enslaved the Christian, the white man. Let's get into it more. Several of those aboard Christopher Columbus's first voyage in 1492, and famously even Columbus or Colon, like the brother was saying, himself were of Jewish ancestry. They were Jews or crypto Jews.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
One of the historians of the Inquisitional Spain and biographers of Christopher Columbus, Simon Wenthal, you guys know this guy, he's very famous, notes that throughout the 16th century, the movement of the Marranos to the New World had continued. After the expulsion of the Jews and flight of the Marrons element, meaning like Muslims, it was the turn of the Moriscos to serve as a scapegoat for all the ills of society, so they say. Page 2. Let's continue. Just the colorized parts. Sephardic Jews and Muslims Moors were present as navigators, ship captains, sailors, metallurgists, cartographers, financiers, and colonists. Let me read something to y'all real quick, okay? I'm going to read something to y'all because it reminds me of something. It was part of my so-called class. I almost forgot. Let's go to Maccabees. I'm telling you, man, just listen to this, family. Maybe you can see, like, it never ends. You know what I'm saying? The past, present, future, it just continues. Maccabees 1 and 11. Maccabees 1:11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let's go, or let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have such much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward therein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsake the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. I find it interesting, man. Are we like overlook, like just ignoring this? The first and second British colonies in North America, Virginia. You guys know about the book called The Old Virginia, right? The old Virginia, the Old Dominion, and Massachusetts were provision funded and peopled by persons of Sephardic Jewish and Muslim Moorish descent. Current genetic genealogy, You guys can see it. It says your male and female and genes from Sephardic, Ottoman, and North African founders. Further, these are early North American colonists, Saracens, even in New York, founded by Dutch in Amsterdam, heavily peopled by Sephardic Jews and Muslim Moors. Oh, I skipped them. Sorry, my bad. Let me come back to that. Oh no, I was here. And Muslim Moors. Look at that. So how do we it's like things need to be clear. I mean, for me, it has to be clear for me. I don't know about you guys, but for me it does. So then now we read this right here, and this is when it gets very interesting. Now we know about Drew Ali, this whole masonry of the Moabite Moors. Remember that, Drew Ali, that whole movement, right? The Moor movement. Check this out. It says, excuse me, two issues arise from these new perspectives. First, how did refugee Jews and Muslims gain awareness of or access to the British colonization efforts in North America? To answer this, we chronicle the significant efforts by English, Scottish, and Irish Freemasons in recruiting and protecting the identities of these non-Christian settlers. Leaders of Freemasonry attempted to create a safe haven for multi-ethnic people regardless of religious creed, much as they commit themselves today to charitable and non-sectarian international causes. Now you can actually start seeing the connection of the books that I've been bringing you out. That's why you need to be sure of what you're doing. And second, perplexing issue is given an overweening Sephardic Jewish and Muslim presence in the American colonies prior to 1776. You know, my dad told me this, man, since I was young, and I'm glad I found it in the scriptures. Proverbs 3:31, envy not the oppressor and choose none of his ways. I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. If I'm not a Hebrew, then I'm not a Hebrew. The second perplexing, but why that version of history was not that narrative promulgated to generations of Americans in a textbook or public records. Our present study does not support to answer this riddle. So some of it has to do with the declining fortunes of Ottoman civilization during their formative years of national identity, along with shifting definitions of what constituted Jewry, Judaism, and Jewishness. Check this out. Certainly, we can speculate that the passage of the National Racial Exclusionary Act of 1790, which targeted not only persons of African and indigenous descent, but also those who were, quote unquote, Jews, Saracens, Turks, Egyptians, and other pagans or infidels. They seem like people of dark skin tone or darker skin tone. Interesting, right? Check this out. Let's continue. Page 6. This caught my attention. Let's just kind of read it real quick. It says, the mother of Patrick Henry, according to a diarist, William Byrd, was a handsome woman of the family of Esau. That's kind of weird, right? For whose husband in Aberdeen, Scotland, was of the family of the Saracens. We know that Esau mixed with who first? You know who told him? Isaac said, don't go mixing with these people, with these women. Esau went and messed with Canaan. Readers will find, check this out, readers will find Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, and other genealogies that reflect intermarriages between Jews and Muslims and American and native inhabitants. Remember the movie I was sharing you guys about a month ago? The Osage, almost about a month ago? This is how it was happening. Don't believe the hype. You got to know history to understand what this means, because then you'll be like, oh my God, that's probably why. No, dummies. It's not why. They raped you. They raped your mama. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying, do your homework before you go and believe something. Historians, I believe this is page, hold on a second. Oh, page 8. It says, historians speculate that the first Europeans to sight land in October 12, 1492 was also Jewish. The sailor Juan Rodriguez Bermejo, called Rodrigo de Triana, left Spain upon Columbus' return and entered the service of Moors in Morocco. So he, we all know now that weren't technically all white or black. It was a mixture. His name and memory are honored today by American Jews, from whom the story of auspicious beginning is its point of eminence pride. Hundreds of Jews exiled from Spain and Portugal. Remember 1737, the book 7 of the new Voyage to Little Italy, written in 17, I believe, 75 or 39, one of those 2 years. Excuse me, I may be wrong. I know I'm not wrong on the years, but I think it's maybe 1739 or 1775, one of the two. He's talking about how these Jews in Spain and Portugal, they tend to be dark, right? But the European ones also, regardless of what kind of Jews they were, they couldn't prove that they were Jews. They actually could not prove it. So that's what he was saying. What secret source did they have? This is a man that was there at that time. I'm going to be questioning a man that was there at that time. There's books that are out there that clarify where I stand, but obviously people want to go with the norm. Hundreds of Jews exiled in Spain and Portugal followed Bermejo and made a name for themselves as Jewish pirates of Caribbean. What the hell? Yeah, for sure. We purpose that many of the initial colonists in Virginia, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and Maryland were of Jewish and Moorish descent. Read that again. We purpose that many of the initial colonists, los primeros conquistadores eran negros y los primeros esclavos eran blancos. Remember, we weren't always dark. We would get tan with, what do you call it? Bear oil, bear grease, stuff like that, right? A lot of us, we would tan our children because obviously we were in the sun. It wasn't like how it was now. It was different. Not that we didn't have buildings. It just wasn't like this. Remember, we're people of this continent. We harvest often. Being outside is not a big deal for us, man. It's not a big deal. We love being outside. Check this out. It says here, rituals and practices of secret Jews, Muslim rituals and beliefs, contains a mixture of religious traditions and social customs. That's about, I put them another day. Okay, let's check this out. So this guy here is called Sir Humphreys Gilbert. Okay, and Cooper was a founding figure in American Freemasonry. That's why we have Prince Hall. That's why you have black folks that are in Hebrew BHI stuff, like, yeah, everybody knew about, if everybody had a Freemason friend or whatever. No, man, we didn't. So we're connecting the dots, and we see now that Freemasonry has a lot to do with Jewish-ishness. We knew that. John Hawkins was a kinsman of Drake, and his life serves as a critical piece of evidence for our Sephardic Morisco thesis. That's why it's very vague. Page 54. We see the migration of Sephardic and Morisco presence. We see a lot of these names, but a lot of these people don't think that they were all white, family. They weren't all white. That's what you have to understand. Many of these persons were likely of Sephardic and Morisco ancestry. These are well-to-do people. In 1700, several boatloads of Huguenots, refugees, arrived in Virginia from England. They were also Jews. I don't know if they were Sephardic or not, but I think they were. Page 57. Lee sponsored 30 indentured servants from Holland, you see, whom he settled on headright lands granted to him for bringing them over as colonists. You see how some people gain land? You saw some people have land, family? It wasn't earned. It gave it to you because you had indentured servants, and they gave you lands through the headright program for bringing over as colonists. And they repeated what you did. Repetitive exploitations of the headright systems was only open to the very wealthy. They continued to sponsor Dutch, evidently Sephardic, indentured servants and reaped increasingly large rewards. Why? Because they gained lands through that. But then once they were done with their contracts, they too can go and bring their servants and then get the headright program for themselves. This is on page 144. Hey, man, but again, you guys think you guys are this people? Then I guess you are. Good luck. More power to you. In 1496, 4 years after the Inquisition began and Jews were banned from Spain, a man named Memo Simon was born in Holland. All right, so let's go here. By 1525, he founded the Mennonites, a sect that plays a prominent role in German, Dutch, Hungarian Protestantism. It says here, an estimate that over 100,000 migrants from these two countries arrived in colonial Pennsylvania. Several Protestant sects were represented, among them Swiss Mennonites, the Woolens, and the Huguenots. Quakerism, Kuhn notes, had been introduced in Germany by William Ames, Sephardic, in 1655. Y'all are pretty involved. We didn't have it as good. Lawbury notes that it was a Huguenot who brought Jewish Moorish craft of silver working in Massachusetts. British arrival for war in 1776 bore a Sephardic surname. It shouldn't be a surprise to you that the 1776 Constitution was written by these people. It should not be surprising to you, white folks. You see that? Ashkenazic, Spanish, Hebrew, German, Ashkenazi, Levite, supposedly. Jafar, that's funny. Like the cartoon. Page 114. Oh, no, we saw that already. Huguenot, South Carolina. Let me see if this is important. Here, check this out. Evidently, many other Jewish institutions and practices gradually went underground at the same time in South France. Crypto-Jewish expert Abraham Lavendor proposes that many Huguenots began as Jews. And then we skip that. Writes as a large number started out as Muslim Moors. You see, we see seeing Jews and Moors. We see the relationship. Even now, remember the Negroes and the Jews? Who's the one making movies, financing them, and who's acting in them? Who's financing music and rapping or singing them? We have already made mention of South Carolina's very early Sephardic and Moorish history. In 1526, Lucas Vaz de Ayllon, we know this guy. We've read some of the material. We know that conquest. I have the book. They fed our children till these guys use dogs on us. A prominent settler, sugar grower, on Hispaniola sent an expedition to the North Atlantic coast. The colony of 500 settlers, including Ayllon, landed somewhere in South Carolina coast, but met with several disasters. Year later, 150 of the colonists managed to struggle back to Hispaniola. We would argue that these settlers were very likely Sephardim and Moors. Ayllon is a Sephardic short name, and I've seen this guy often. I know he was a conquistador. I don't know if he was a black one, but I know that he's in the book that I have, the Dogs of Conquest, and he was one that was mentioned in how I think he released the dog on one of the native caciques, and he was tearing his belly in pieces. That's my brother? Hell the fuck no. Sir Anthony Ashley Cooper, a crypto Jew English peer, and Freemason. Now we're going to get into the connection with Freemasonry and Jewry or Jewish, Sephardic, or Ashkenazi, whatever the hell you are. This is part of your history. Notably, about half these names are identifiable as Sephardic or Moorish. You see this, family? Constantly. Don't be fooled by the propaganda. Again, several are identifiably as Sephardic and Moriscos. Let's see here. Well, look, we see this here. Chapter 6, in Pennsylvania, we developed a detailed proposal that the majority of the incoming German Palatine Protestants were of Sephardic, Ashkenazic, and Morisco origin. These are white and black people. Again, we are seeing correspondence with Jewish names. Claiming to be, remember that. Don't be fooled. Also, South Carolina's planters and merchants elites were drawn almost exclusively from persons bearing Sephardic and Morisco surnames. Let me read that again. Also, South Carolina's planter and merchant elite. Not some beaner paisa like me and you. No. Elite was drawn almost exclusively from persons bearing Sephardic and Morisco surnames. Yet, despite their crypto status, Jews, Moors, and their descendants made important contributions to South Carolina's culture and economic throughout the colonial period. Why? Because they had slaves. Huguenots. Let me show you something real quick. Well, here it goes. Let's touch on this. So these are who they are. Beacon of Freemasonry. One of the social mechanisms through which Jews and Muslims learned about their opportunities in the New World was Freemasonry. Sephardic Jews. Let's not skip this. One of the social mechanisms through which Ashkenazi Jews and Sephardic Jews and Muslims, black people, learned about their opportunity in the New World was Freemasonry. Noble Drew Ali, does that ring a bell? What's up, Colomiados? Did you ignore this? Do you not read these books either? By way of concluding this work and drawing together the various strands of Jewish and Muslim biographies in the American colonies, let us examine the origins and spread of Freemasonry along with the story it's coming to the colonies. I'm not making this up. I'm reading it. So if you claim to be Ashkenazi Jew or a Sephardic Jew, okay, or those are your people, then you're saying you're dealing with Freemasonry as well. Because Mohammedis, in case you don't know, he's a Sephardic rabbi who was all about Kabbalah, Zohar, what's the other one? Mishnah, and then the Talmud. And I'm going to show you something too as well, so we can just end this propaganda, man. And men in the Ashmo families were leather workers, a large Moorish and Sephardi craft. 2 years later, in 1496, Elias Ashmo was initiated into Freemasons. At that time, a completely secret organization whose origins trace back to the Templars, and which included many, not a few, many Sephardic Jews. Like this guy. Okay. Page 176. Or the roots of this thing. Romanian scholar Felicia Wallman links European esotericism of the type practiced by Ashmole to the Judaic Kabbalist notion of as above, so below, meaning that the earthly material world is an imperfection reflection of divine spiritual perfection. That's That's why when you study that Talmud, Kabbalah, and you really want to associate with these people like that, then you believe in that. Then you study that and you practice that and you worship that and you accept that and you embrace that because that's what you're saying. Having described Ashmole's origin and membership in Freemasonry, now we're seeing Ashkenazi, Sephardic, Muslim, white, black, Freemasonry, all involved through Christianity, through BHI, through so-called Jewish, all that stupid doctrine that we keep to be fallen on. Now, listen, you got a bunch of these, excuse my French, bro, I'm going to say a bunch of these dumb Negroes here over here. Not surprised that they got black folks that may just be fake Jews trying to pull a fast one on them. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, oh, Freemasons and BHI. Look, man, one of my first classes was basically my separation of showing our history compared to theirs, who they are and who we are. And one of the things I brought out was that guy that was talking, he had the Confederate flag, remember, black and purple? And he was talking about how the boulets and this and that, and he's showing all these things, this connection with them. I mean, I was hinting at those things, but I was trying to stay scriptural as much as I could. Eventually, it just comes to this point. Now we're kind of coming full circle. In a way, it's like, man, I didn't really want to bring this out, I guess, but fuck it. Who cares now? You know what I'm saying? Nobody gives a shit. I don't care. You want to believe your own thing. You're not here to get really correction. You want to believe your own shit. So you guys that believe what you are, if you like for example, if you think you're Canaan, well, then maybe you are Canaan. If you think you Esau, well, then you Esau. If you think you're Moab, then you are. You know what I'm saying? Like I me spiritually, I feel like I'm a Hebrew and I'm raising my family, my kids to be them. That's it. I cannot change it. My mom, she found out about some things and she's kind of looking at the scriptures a little different. I don't know. Some people have to see certain things. I didn't. But I knew that something smelled very fishy. We will argue that in his contacts and friendships were overwhelmingly Jewish and Muslim, that Freemasonry, alchemy, astrology, and astronomy were dominated by persons of Jewish and Muslim ancestry, and that subsequently these same patterns were carried over to England, colonies in North America. You want to be go ahead, man. If you want to be a Jew, be a Jew. Many esoteric texts copy the Sefer, yet Sirah, or Book of Creations, a primer on the Kabbalah published in Hebrew by Sephardic Jews in Italy. Freemasonry, Ashkenazis, Sephardics, Muslims. Like I said, Revelation 2:9, 3:9. I always wondered why they were together. I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Who loves to see this right now? Who loves to have certain people do that to them? And here, clearly we see that the word is showing us who these guys are. These guys want people to kiss their feet. Apparently, this is going to be their embarrassment. Hey, if you are, then too bad. You guys can look at that real quick. Let me read the bottom part. You see Jews and Muslims, blah, 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 Marano, whatever. Let me read the bottom part. Returning to England, he brought word of the impending invasion by Spanish King Philip II and formed a secret society of Freemasons designed to keep intelligent secrets from being penetrated by Spanish spies. Freemasonry was thus nakedly linked with a political anti-Spanish agenda. We see it here again. This is a book on the Jews and the Moors. Remember that. with a new rite of Freemasonry brotherhood, the Templars, Navari. So we see that there's some involvement with these people here, some deep, deep roots with Jews, Muslims, and Freemasons. In the present day, Freemasons attract death from all countries and religious backgrounds, so they say. Let me skip this part because you guys can just take a picture of it if you want. I'm gonna get to this point right here. I'm just gonna show you this. Francis Bacon, a Freemason, writing in the New Atlantis, describes such a Ethiopian community. The Royal Society was founded by Bacon's death. Founded after Bacon's death by Charles II, believed to be of Jewish descent. Now, some people believe that Bacon supposedly wrote the New Testament. That's what some people believe. What can I tell you? Page 182, a prevailing philosophy embraced by Freemasons at the time of the English colonization of the New World went beyond conventional religious and ethnic divisions to the embrace of universality of human brotherhood. Essentially, an Islamic and crypto-Muslim concept. Why do you think you see these connections? Muslims, Jews, Muslims. You know what I'm saying? Why are you surprised? Shouldn't surprise you one bit. Again, propaganda. So I'm going to get through this real quick because I'm almost done with this part of propaganda. You see colonial Freemason symbols. It is no secret that Freemasonry were involved in the founding of America. Of the 56 who signed the Declaration of Independence, 9, according to some, 53, according to others, were Freemasons. White America. Y'all stupid. You really think? And you guys that are over here talking this big game like you care about the people, you care about people. All of a sudden now, when shit's hitting the fan, now you want to be one people. Now we're all the same people. Right? Now we're all the same people. Only when it's convenient, we're the same people. When it's not convenient, we're not the same people. This is your background. This is who you guys are. This is what it took. That power of the last hour. They were holding this until the end. In Colonial Freemasonry, edited by Lewis Cook, various authors discuss the Masonic French membership of famous figures throughout the original 13th American colonies. Connecticut Freemasons were led by Master Mason Jehoshaphat Star, Arabic and Hebrew for promissory note. Sephardic Jew. That's what that SJ means. Another Connecticut Freemason is Benjamin Isaac, who, although known to be Jewish, and by the way, remember, these idiots cannot prove that they were Jews. Even then, remember the book. I'm not going to bring it out because I want to get through some stuff. I'm not even going to get through what I want. But I've showed y'all. Old book says these guys, they can't prove who they are. This guy went around asking them, pronouncing certain words, and it sounded horrible, man. At the end of the day, he's like, bro, these guys can't prove a damn thing. You know what I mean? It's like this lady said.
That's right.
I love that shit. That's right. Hold on.
That's right.
That's right. Hold on.
That's right.
This is funny. It's too funny, man. Let's see. And served as Grand Master of Freemasons in the state. Wow. I don't know why I read that. His mother was Elizabeth. Oh, this is why. Check this out. His mother was Elizabeth Cannon, or Canaan. And his uncle of the same name had married Sarah Anthony of London, Jewish merchant family previously mentioned. Very interesting that name, Canaan, is somehow related to Canaan. Family, whoever's watching, look that up. Okay, we're almost done with this. Then we'll move it on. Again, we're just kind of slicing and dicing just propaganda. Modern reinterpretation recognizes the contribution of African and indigenous Americans, but the basic premise has persisted. This groundbreaking study fundamentally challenges the traditional national storyline by postulating that many of the initial colonists were actually Sephardic Jews and Muslim Moorish ancestry. You see this? Many of the initial colonists. Don't let that fool you. Many of the initial colonists were Sephardic and Moorish. And a lot of them landed, believe it or not, in the Caribbean. Believe it or not. So I know I was kind of holding on this for a second. Let me move on now. Another propaganda. Old actual page. Not propaganda, but this is what they do to scare people, and this is what they do to scare our gente. Deport 6,000 refugees. Mexican entering Eagle Pass sent back to own country. Check this out. 3 cases of smallpox among the refugees caused the immigration department to order them back. 3 cases of smallpox. Remember, family, there's nothing new under the sun. I showed that with y'all before. Ecclesiastes 3:15, it says, that which has been is now. You see, the past is right now. And that which is to be has already been. So what's going on right now, too, is going to be the future if they don't stop. And God required that which is past. So, again, a book of remembrance is for real. Now, it says, remember, like what's going on in the past, what happened in the past is happening right now. Okay? What's going on in the past is happening right now. Okay, so check this out. And I find it so interesting because this came out not too long ago. Chicago to start evicting immigrants amid measles outbreak.
That's right. That's right.
Because of the measles outbreak. As thousands of immigrants and asylum seekers living in Chicago-run migrant shelters are set to be evicted this weekend, a growing number of confirmed measles cases inside the city's largest shelter has intensified the push for Mayor Brandon Johnson to gain extended deadlines. 7 measles cases have been confirmed. Really. 3 cases of smallpox among the refugees causes them to be sent back. Interesting, right? Interestingly enough. But what do I know? Check this out. If you guys recall, this is going to start happening if it ain't going to happen soon.
Back more than
Listen.
100 years to a tale of a teenager who sparked a movement at the border in what many consider to be a shameful chapter in the story of our city. It's no secret El Paso is rich in culture and rich in history. And just like anywhere else, our history is full of the good and the bad, particularly when it comes to our border with Mexico. In 1917, Mayor Thomas Lee, father to the famed artist, initiated a practice with the help of the U.S. federal government in which Mexican citizens crossing the bridge were first forced to strip naked in order to be decontaminated with chemicals. The disinfection station set up right at the Santa Fe Bridge.
It was very humiliating.
UTEP history professor Yolanda Chavez Leva.
The mayor at the time was very afraid of germs and very afraid that Mexican migrants crossing the border every day would be bringing in, he said, lice especially, and he was very afraid of typhoid.
The baths would become a part of everyday life for the Mexicans traveling into El Paso to work. That is, until a 17-year-old Mexican domestic worker named Carmelita Torres said enough and refused to enter the baths, leading to a few days of revolt as chronicled in the El Paso Morning Times. Carmelita, labeled an auburn-haired Amazon by the paper, would come to be known by local historians as the Mexican Rosa Parks. What became of her, though, isn't clear.
We don't even have a picture of her.
Megan O'Toole-Pitts is the author and producer of No Mas, a radio play telling Carmelita.
And by the way, you see how insulting that is? The Mexican Rosa Parks? Excuse me. Shut your dumb ass up. Because these people here were the ones that stole that history and made it theirs. That Rosa Parks shit was planned. Our sister is not the Mexican Rosa Parks. No, she is the wannabe our people park. Because that shit was planned. Stop playing these games with us, man. All part of this whole concept. We already know now. That empathy's over.
What became of her, though, isn't clear.
We don't even have a picture of her.
Megan O'Toole Pitts is the author and producer of No Mas, a radio play telling Carmelita's story.
You let it make you angry. You let it make you just enraged, and then you put that on the page. Or at least that was my process anyway.
The story is something that's not really known, and it's a really powerful story, you know.
Celia Aguilar portrayed Carmelita in the play.
Sometimes I would say something and I would get the chills. It was so powerful.
It amazes me that we don't talk about it more. We don't have a school named after her, or a street named after her, or a park named after her.
I asked all three women I spoke with what they think happened to Carmelita.
I would like to think that she escaped somewhere and lived happily, but I just have this deep fear that she was disappeared.
I would like to think that she led a very prosperous, happy life, but the reality is probably something much different.
I like to think that kind of strength and courage that she had as a teenager, that it went on throughout her life. That's what I would like to think. Did she get married? Did she have children? What happened to her?
And that's the sad part, man, because you want to know something? Like, nobody even pays attention to that shit. Like, for example, right now, you guys are out there partying. I forgot to show you this. Let me just kind of bring up a topic, too, because I forgot. Thank you, brother, by the way. It says here, let me start from the top so you guys can understand what this whole point is here, okay? Check this out. So this is from a Jewish encyclopedia. It says, Galatia, an inland district in Asia Minor, and after 25 BC, a province of the Roman Empire. There was a Jewish settlement there, which may have been founded by Antiochus the Great, who sent many Jewish families to Asia Minor as colonists. As proof of the existence of the Jews in Galatia, according to many, it's given by an edict of Augustus, which, according to Josephus of the Antiquities, was published in Ancyra and the metropolis of Galatia. Remember Galatia. But the readings of the word Ancyra is doubtful. A better proof may have been had from some inscription found in Galatia relating to Jews. Okay? Remember, Akiba, who is said to have been a great traveler, speaks of Gallia, which is generally identified with Galatia. A teacher named Menahem is said to have come from Gallia. The chief proof, however, the existence of Jews in Galatia is the fact that Paul sent thither a general epistle known as the Epistles to the Galatians. There is strong disagreement among scholars as regards the parts of Galatia where the correspondence of St. Paul lived. You see, so even Galatia's location is in doubt. The older opinion was that they were to be found in the northern cities of Galatia. But recent scholars, specifically Professor Ramsey, holds that they lived in cities of the South and New Galatia, which are actually mentioned in the Acts of the Apostles. All right. So now let's read this now. It says here, Hispania was the name given by the Romans to the whole of the Iberian Peninsula, modern Portugal, Spain, Andorra, Gibraltar, and a very southern part of France. So it's talking about a vast space, okay? That's what the Romans called Hispania, Iberian Peninsula. When Rome was a republic, Hispania was divided in two provinces. Let's follow me here. Hispania Citerior and Hispania Ulterior, or interior and ulterior Hispania. Okay? So remember, follow me. During the Principate, Hispania Ulterior was divided in two new provinces. So then Hispania Ulterior now became two separate ones. So now there's, instead of two, now there's three so far. Okay? And Hispania Ulterior was divided into two new provinces, Baetica and Lusitania, while Hispania Citerior was renamed Tarraconensis. Subsequently, the western part of Tarraconensis was split off first as Hispania Nova, later renamed Gallaecia or Gallaecia when modern Galatia. See this? So now this Hispania ulterior is named to Tarraconensis, but then that is broken in two. One is named Nova Hispania and the other one named Galatia, or later renamed Galatia. First as Nova, later renamed as Galatia or Galatia, whence modern Galatia. From Diocletian Tetrarchy, after in the AD 284 AD onward, the south of the remaining Tarraconenses was again split off as the Carthaginiensis or Carthaginiensis, and probably then too by the Balearic Islands. And the resulting province formed one civil diocese under the vicarius for the Hispaniae, that is the Celtic province. So you see how there's so much splitting going on right now, and centuries have changed at this point. I'm sorry, centuries have caused these lands to move and change in names. The term Hispania in Latin and the term Iberia is Greek. Surviving Roman texts always use Hispania, with mention in 200 BC by the poet Quintus Ennius, while Greek texts always employ Iberia. Why is it that? Maccabees 1:8, verse 2. And that they were men of great valor. It was told also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians, and how they had conquered them and brought them under tribute, and what they had done in the countries of Spain. So now there's some kind of division. But hold on a second. It even gets more interesting. Some people like to use this. Obadiah 1:20, right? Sepharat. Okay. This is on Hyde's Genesis Hebrew Chaldee Lexicon. North of a country, elsewhere unknown, whether the exiles of Israel were carried away, according to Vogue, Vos Foros, according to the Sir, whatever, I don't know what that is, chapter, I believe, and the Hebrew writers, Spain, which is clearly incorrect. You see that? Safarad, translation as that word for Spain, is clearly incorrect. Clearly incorrect. Others suppose Sephirah, but this apparently would be rather. This is from a book here, Sargon II of Assyria, and there's a land by the conquering nations, which is in the Middle East, called Sepharda. Compare Sepharda in southwest Media, time of Sargon, as Sepharda, also northwest Nineveh. Sparda, Asia Minor. Are we talking about Galatia then? Just saying. Oh man, this is getting very interesting to me. Check this out. There was a time, and they're talking about it again. They're talking about it again, saying that they should deport our people. You know, that we don't belong here because we're poisoning their blood. And you know, you have people that actually believe this. That's why. Let me go back to Maccabees. Matter of fact, let's go Maccabees 2, 4, and 15. Let's go to 13. It says here, because you know this went on back then. This went on, you know, not too long ago. This is going on right now. Look, they want to be like these other nations. And again, if you are, then great. But if you're not, I also know that you want to be like these other nations. 2 Maccabees 4:13. Now such was the height of the Greek fashions, an increase of heathenish manners through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretched, and no high priest, because we had leaders that thought they knew what they were talking about. And even then, verse 14, that the priest had no courage to serve anymore at the altar. No courage. Beneficial? Maybe because, I don't know, that shit tastes real good. It feels real good. But despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the places of exercise, after the games of discus called then forth, meaning just their ways, not necessarily playing their sport, just doing their ways. Let me be like them, not setting by the honor of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians. We see this. We see this right now. We're seeing this right in our freaking face, man. Check this out. Some of y'all think it's going to be funny, but check it.
If Trump were to run again and win, obviously you'd be happy. Would you accept that result?
Of course.
If he were to run again and lose, would you accept that result?
Yeah, I mean, we had to accept everything that happened, but not
you didn't. But you didn't.
Accept it, but for sure, I'm telling you. I mean, the numbers, the registry.
The fleece defer.
Limited officer.
Fleece defer.
Limited officer.
Flee.
Voters. You know, the 80% of people voted for Trump.
80%.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard that number anywhere.
That's what I'm saying.
Like 80 million people voted for Trump.
So 80 million, but that's not.
You add the numbers, Biden is not the one that should be in the White House right now.
I don't think he lost. I am one of the people that believe he did win. There was a lot of things going on that were kind of fishy to me on the last election.
Could you be specific a little bit about that? What affected your opinion on that?
Well, I saw a lot of things on social media. People harvesting ballots, voting multiple times. A list of rosters of people that were deceased still on the roster voting. A lot of stuff came out on that was not on the media, but was a lot circling. A lot of the 2,000 Mules that show. I 100% believe what was said on it.
My president, the one who won.
I was born in Cuba, and I'm against communism. I'm a legal citizen of the United States since I'm 6 years old, and I love Trump.
And what is it about Donald Trump that you love so much?
I want honesty. I want a man that's going to not give me the politician talk, and he's going to change the country like he did for the first 4 years.
And if he runs to either challenge President Biden or another Democrat in 2024, would he have your support?
Listen, he's got my support now, today. I voted DeSantis, I voted Marco Rubio, I will vote Trump again, and I am firm believer that he'll either run with maybe DeSantis or Marco Rubio.
Well, Trump is a Florida resident, so he can't run with DeSantis.
Okay, so maybe Marco Rubio?
Well, he can't. They're both from Florida, yeah. So who else would you like to see? What about Mike Pence?
No.
How come?
I think he betrayed him. I really do. I was very involved in the campaign. Yeah.
In what way do you think he betrayed him?
I heard a lot of talk about it here in Miami, Florida. I was in a lot of...
But he won and then he lost. So if he runs...
He didn't lose.
He didn't lose?
No, not at all.
So tell me about that. I thought Joe Biden's president.
Well, he's in the White House, but he's not the real president. He's not the one doing... I mean, to me, my president is still Trump. Biden? No.
But he's the one who commands the military and makes the decisions and the foreign policy. So
there's a lot of people behind him that is doing the decisions for him. That man is a sleepy one. He's not commanding at all.
Where did you hear that? Like, how do you know that?
Yeah, like common sense and I don't know. I don't believe anything that's going on. There's a lot of things that are not saying behind cameras. They're not being told. They're not being truthful to the American people.
If Trump won in 2020, would you have accepted that?
Yes.
But Biden won and you don't accept?
It's not that I don't accept it. I don't believe that he won.
But you would believe it if Trump won?
Yeah.
And what about in 2020?
Look, let's say Biden right now says he's going to do a rally. Do you think many people will come to his rally? I doubt it very much.
I don't.
He did it in the campaign. There was 3 people and 3 mosquitoes. That's it. Nobody went to see him.
I find that very funny, man. I find that very funny because let's say that this. Hey, listen, white people, you guys are very fucking hypocritical. If this was a person, I guess, on the Democratic side saying this shit, you would be livid. You'd be like, you see, these are terrorists. They're talking like terrorists. This is a Cuban B person. She don't even speak English very well. And she doesn't even didn't she come to this country supposedly to leave tyranny? She comes here and then comes and doubts this country too? Listen, man, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but I know this for a fact. Scriptures are very clear. Like my dad told me, Proverbs 3:31, I hate to say, envy thou not the oppressor and choose none of his ways. None of his ways. I just don't understand. It's like, I'll show you that here. I'm going to show you something. This is actually pretty interesting because I think that they have something to do with this. The propaganda that they're feeding them behind closed doors, so to speak. This is what I mean. Check this. I'm going to pause it and go because they may want to block it. Okay. Check this out.
The idea of
this is what they're teaching them. See, this is what white folks are actually experiencing right now. Okay? They are listening to these things. They're paying for subscriptions of these types. And this is what they're feeding them. Okay? Check it out.
Guaranteeing equal rights through legislation, while in actuality, it drags down moral values and deprives people of the freedom to incline toward goodness. It's impossible to enforce equality by suddenly elevating those at lower levels, so instead, socialism artificially restrains those at higher levels, especially in terms of moral values. The socialism of the West is the idea of guaranteeing equal rights through legislation, while in actuality, it drags down moral values and deprives people of the freedom to incline toward goodness. It's impossible to enforce equality by suddenly elevating those at lower levels, so instead, socialism artificially restrains those at higher levels, especially in terms of moral values. The socialism of the West uses pretexts like anti-discrimination, value neutrality, or political correctness to attack basic moral discernment. This is equivalent to an attempt to eliminate morality as such. This has come along with the legalization and normalization of all manner of anti-theist and profane speech, sexual perversions, demonic art, pornography, gambling, and drug use. The result is a kind of reverse discrimination against those who believe in God, and reverse discrimination against those who believe in God is a kind of reverse discrimination against those who believe in God and aspire to moral elevation, with the goal of marginalizing and eventually getting rid of them.
You see what they're saying? They're basically saying that now it's all communism's fault. All the over sexualization, the body count, the divorces, the everything, the homos, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? The pedophilia. They're gonna blame it now on communism. There comes a time where you just gotta face the facts of who you are. It is time that you see yourselves as who you are. Why is it that it's the fentanyl pushers' fault that you guys have a high usage of drugs? Why is it that you're supposedly arguing about some children getting kidnapped, trafficked, which I know it happens on a high level, but you white folks act like you fucking give a shit. You don't give a damn because you want to arrest supposedly the people that's providing this material, but you're not seeing who's asking for this material? Who is asking for this material? Or is it like being forced down somebody's throat, even though you spiritually do not deal with stuff like that? If that's not you, you ain't gonna look for it. Psalms 37:7, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospered in his ways. We see what's going on, gente. We know. Don't get too upset. There's shit's going down. Because of the man who bringeth wickedness devices to pass. Yes. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Now, again, vengeance is of the Lord. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. Do not. I'm not bringing this up for y'all to retaliate in this sense. It's for you to repent and look at your family. That's who we are. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those that wait upon the Lord shall inherit the earth. You damn right. You damn right. Because guess what? Now all of a sudden these guys want to say, "Oh, it's communism." Oh, it's and you know the way that they reference this so-called communism, which I'm not. Look, what I see is what I'm gonna call. It's called an economic, political, propagandized doctrine. That's what it is. Whatever is good for the, I guess, for the winner, it don't matter what way he wants to tap. Make him dance, he's gonna want to win it. So if it's capitalism that would favor a so-called nation, they'll run with it. If it's communism, they'll run with it. If it's whatever that concept is, what I'm really intrigued by is how they want to say that it was communism that destroyed, that killed, that murdered, that raped, slaughtered, and did everything to our people. It was supposedly communism that passed these laws for repatriation. Supposedly communism was who fumigated our gente. So America is a communist country because the way that they're saying is it was communism that brought evil. What we see evil coming from y'all. Does that mean you are communist, white people? Because that's what you're telling your white folks in the back doors, these subscriptions of Epoch, that's what they're called. You're teaching these white folks that look, for example, they supposedly attach communism with Satan. Communism with Satan. Now, I don't know if it's right or wrong to be that person, to believe in that economic system, but it's like y'all keep blaming other people instead of looking at how wicked and evil you guys have been. Let's reminisce a bit.
Between 1929 to 1939, the United States was going through an economic and social crisis. During this time, the Great Depression broke out, and the lives of many people across the United States were greatly affected when they lost their jobs due to the crash of the stock market. Mexicans and Mexican Americans living in the United States were greatly affected when they were repatriated to Mexico. Repatriation is the act of returning somebody to their own country. In this case, they were repatriated because of a shortage of labor in the United States. Between 400,000 to 2 million people were repatriated back to Mexico. However, some were U.S. citizens. This process consisted of different phases that had negative effects on affected people as their lives changed dramatically when they were repatriated. In the first phase of repatriation, people were offered transportation to Mexico. In Boulder, Colorado, trains were provided for Mexicans who volunteered to return to their homeland. Only Mexican citizens across the United States were eligible to return. They chose to return to Mexico because they were promised land grants and a better economic standpoint. Since Mexicans were the first to lose their jobs during the Great Depression, they were persuaded to return home and escape the economic turmoil that existed in the United States. So during the first phase of repatriation, Mexicans ultimately chose to return to Mexico without being forced. They went back in trains and some found their own transportation. However, once they returned, they began to experience economic hardships in Mexico. When economic conditions began to worsen in America, the government began taking greater action towards repatriating people of Mexican descent. Instead of repatriating people, the government began to illegally deport people, including United States citizens. As shown in data, about 60% of people who were forced to return to Mexico were born in the United States. Therefore, the later phases of repatriation included forced deportation that began to affect deported people in distinct ways. When they arrived to Mexico, they never received the land grants they were promised. Instead, the Mexican government forced them to work in the agricultural fields and build the Mexican economy because it had been affected by the Mexican Revolution. To do this, the government began to recruit repatriated workers who had experience with field labor. Moreover, United States citizens were illegally deported out of America after they were seen as racially inferior compared to other non-colored citizens. As the phases of repatriation grew deeper, repatriated people began to suffer in Mexico. Even though some people volunteered to return to Mexico, they did not fully assimilate to the Mexican culture. Living conditions in Mexico were tough, as not all people returned to their original homeland. Therefore, they had to settle in cramped, one-room apartments and live in inhumane conditions. The most affected people were United States citizens who were deported unfairly. They were not raised in Mexico, so they were not familiar with the language. In schools, they were prohibited to speak English and were forced to learn everything in Spanish. After not being able to assimilate in the culture, many citizens tried to return to America, but many of them were unjustly denied to return because of the immigration law. This law forbade United States citizens to return to their homeland with ease and required them to go through the process of immigration, where they were forced to take literacy tests. Therefore, historians label this time period as the decade of betrayal. Many Mexican citizens were debating on coming back to the United States to seek a better future once again. But in Mexico, Lázaro Cárdenas kept making promises to Mexicans who stayed and worked the lands. He was doing this as an effort to build a stronger economy in Mexico. Soon, repatriated people forgot about returning to the United States as they assimilated to the Mexican culture. After not being able to return to the United States, many of them had to live in Mexico, but they struggled economically and socially as conditions were worse than they were in the United States. This mass deportation of Mexicans during the repatriation is one of many examples of mistreatment and marginalization that Mexicans have undergone in the history of the United States. Mexicans have also suffered from displacement and immigration laws in which they are deported and treated unfairly. Therefore, repatriation is also known as betrayal from one's homeland.
It's a heavy point, and a lot of our people don't ask these questions, but I know sometimes we wonder. Acts 1:6 says, when they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, will thou at this time restore again the kingdom of Israel or of our people? I don't know if you guys ask in that way. I think a lot of us ask in some kind of fashion. Jeremiah 36:2, and this is the way it's happening. Take thee a roll of a book and write therein all the words that I have spoken unto thee against Israel and against Judah, both kingdoms, both sticks, and against all the nations, from the day I spake unto thee, from the days of Josiah, even unto this day. It may be that the house of Judah will hear all the evil which I purpose to do unto them, that they may return every man from his evil way. You see, that's the whole point. That they may return every man from his evil way. So why am I doing this? There's a restoration in a sense also, because I'm seeing what I'm seeing. I want you guys to see it. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to see it. You read it. You determine it. You decipher it. Because it may be that the house of Judah will hear all the evil which I purpose to do unto them, that they may return every man from his evil way, that I may forgive their iniquity and their sin. Restore, return. Because, repatriation, that's not a way to restore or return. What was I reading earlier? Remember I showed you guys Deuteronomy 28 and how the first curses are physical. And then once you get to this is up until verse 27, they're all physical. And then verse 28 says, Deuteronomy 28:28, the Lord shall smite thee with madness, meaning sickness in the mind, and blindness, meaning not knowing which direction to go, and astonishment of heart. And no matter what you do, shit does not change. That's the actual mental. So what are we trying to do? Restore that mental destruction. I come from an alcoholic background. That's why you see on the bottom. If y'all dealing with addiction, that's that number right there. I know what it's like to feel. I ain't got nothing, man. I'm done fighting this alcoholism. I'd rather just shoot myself. I've been there. I mean, I didn't do it, thank God, but I've been there. I know what it's like being destroyed. Madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. I'm mad at myself and I don't know what to do. And I can't even live within my own skin. Verse 29, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. So again, what are we restoring? That sick mind. and thou shalt not prosper in thy way. So now what I'm showing you is look at our history. Look at who we are. Look at what practices we've had since the beginning of time. Now you got these white folks in these science books here. I'll show you some. These white folks in these like science, belief in scientific books and all these things, right? It's like first they were saying that we were full of shit, that we were no good, that we were nothing, that we were this, that we were that, and that again, we're poisoning the blood of these white folks. But all of a sudden, man, check this out. All of a sudden, now you got these people here.
Darwin's theory is completely wrong.
You see about this Darwinism theory, they're completely wrong, blah, 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 blah. Now they're saying about how our understanding, our wisdom of our native brothers and sisters, of our old traditional ways, keepers of secrets of making plant medicine. Now they're like, hey, maybe we should listen to the Toltecs and the natives and the Mayas and the Incas and the Peruvians and Isaiah, shut your asses up, man. This is what I'm trying to restore to my gente. I want y'all to see the spirit that I live through. Because guess what? This restoration is going to bring power. Why? Because remember, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt only be oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. That sounds like somebody that has a really, really bad addictive problem, a really difficult time in life, can't get around his bills. His wife always left him, maybe cheated on him, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? This is a destroyed individual or sister right here. And this destruction needs to be restored. It's like you're a classic car. Estás toda madreado, güey. We need to restore you. We need to bring you back to your reality, to restore you and bring your mind back from this propaganda. That's why the scriptures are powerful, especially when you start paying attention in how they actually work and function on your behalf. Ephesians 6:11, it says, put on the whole armor of God that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. The whole armor. What is the whole armor? How do you get around that whole armor? And a matter of fact, why should you even do that? Romans 13:12. Watch what it says here. It says, the night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. What is the light? The word. That's, in case you guys don't know, it's kind of milk. It should be milk. Oh, what is it? Isaiah 8:20. It said, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to his word, it is because there is no light in them. That means the word is light, correct? Romans 13:12. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light, meaning the word, the scriptures, the power. Why? Ephesians 6:11, verse 12. Because we're not just dealing with people, principalities and powers. Well, we showed you the book earlier. We got people that believe that shit. For verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may withstand in the evil day, having done all to stand. Why? Because we battle this every single day. Y'all that deal with alcohol, or you guys that deal with addictions, or you guys that deal with something that you're really fighting, guess what? You can't do it alone. Because when you try to do it alone, that's when you fail. These demons are not alone. You see how it says we're legion, and there's many of us, or how, the Messiah takes out that demon from the guy in the cave on Mark 4, I believe. And then he throws a bunch of demons into the pigs. So they're not alone. 1 Peter 5:8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, is a roaring lion, walking about seeking whom he may devour. What does that mean? It's kind of like the example in the herd, stay in the middle, because what the lions try to do is catch the weak ones on the outside. Listen, and if you don't understand what I'm talking about, then why do you think you're battling? Listen, that's why I leave my phone available for brothers, because the ones that I'm talking to, they understand how difficult it is. Even a chatter like, hey man, how you doing, bro? You good, bro? Okay, cool. Somebody checked in on you. Why? Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. That's why. So if you know this world is not going to change for you, the only thing you have left is your mind. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. That doesn't make sense. Job 2:2. And the Lord said unto Satan, from whence cometh thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down. The Lord is the world is given into the hand of the wicked. You understand what that means? So that's why it is important that you understand the battles that we're dealing with, the people, and what they're feeding themselves as well. Watch this. Here's another part. Check it out.
Communism breeds war, famine, slaughter, and tyranny. These in themselves are terrifying enough, but the damage dealt by communism goes far beyond this. It has become increasingly clear to many that, unlike any other system in history, what communism declares war on is humanity itself, including human values and human dignity. Over the course of a century, communism established massive dictatorships in the Soviet Union and China. It caused more than 100 million unnatural deaths, natural deaths. It enslaved billions, and it brought the world to the brink of nuclear war and thus destruction. Yet
that's communism. They said that's communism, right? Oh, and listen, I'm not for or against it. I don't give a shit about your political economic jargon. But this is our reality. Greg Abbott celebrates arresting nearly 500,000 immigrants. What is your reality, Mr. White Man? Because our reality is not the same reality that you have in your mind. That's not our reality. Because if that's the case, the way you present that shit, then I'm like, damn, that you guys are the communist people here. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? That's why envy not the oppressor, choose none of his ways. Envy not the oppressor, choose none of his ways. Check this out. Psalm 73. I'm going to read something to you. And then I'm almost done. And then I'll continue with another class to this. Psalm 73. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. For I was envious at the foolish. Yeah, I know that happens, family. I know that happens. When I saw the prosperity of the wicked, I know some of us want to like, man, shit, man. Envy not the oppressor, choose none of his ways. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. It's like, how the hell did these rich bastards, man, like you drive around and you see these homes and these beaches and shit. These used to be our lands, you know what I'm saying? But their strength is firm. I'm like, how the damn, man? They are not in trouble as other men. I look around and like, yo, I got pulled over so many times, bro. I know of people that were weirdos that got pulled over when they were drunk, and guess what? No DUIs. I'm just saying. But no excuse, man. I fight over it. They are not in trouble as other men. Neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore, pride encompassed them about as a chain. Violence covered them as garments. Their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than their hearts could wish. So we look around like Greg Abbott. Come on, man. These people are literally just trying to make a living, bruh. It don't matter to you. You got damn crocodiles in that river. It's all good, family. It is all good. Hopefully, some of y'all understand this. Psalm 74:4. Thine eyes roar in the midst of thy congregations. They set up their ensigns for signs. Pay attention. A man was famous according as he had lifted up axes upon the thick trees. These were the old ways. These people supposedly came to civilize the great manifest destiny, right? So we assume that they're correct. Like, well, it must be God must be on their side because supposedly they did come and civilize us, right? Supposedly. But now they break down the carved work thereof at once with axes and hammers. So we see civilization. You see right here, but now, unlike it was one man, now they're like one carving, one axe cuts many, many, many. So now we're talking about the industrialization of a nation. They have cast off fire into thy sanctuaries. They have defiled by casting down the dwelling places of thy name. So they turned our holy land into their holy place. They said in their hearts, let us destroy them together. They have burned up all the synagogues of God in the land. You see this here? Do you see what we're talking about now? Who are these people that feel that they're in their dwelling place? That no matter what they've done to defile these lands of ours, they still sit behind this manifest destiny. Watch this real quick. Check this out. Check this out. This is what we're restoring, because they want to destroy what we already had. Some of you guys actually believe these things here. It's like you're going to these people, asking them advice on the stuff that is naturally given to you by the Most High. Check this out.
They seemingly intentionally look to wipe out these populations, cultures, heretical lines, whether it was the First Nations people where the conquistadors came in or empire came in whatever forces. Our own nation participated in such atrocities. But then there was also, the witch hunts. What were the witch hunts? Well, these were, Druidic people, or people who remembered the lineage and the heritage lines of working with energy and magic and medicine, in plant medicine in that form, in unique ways. And they were, strung up from trees and burnt on stakes and thrown in water, and, they were destroyed, by the millions across the whole world.
Because they were the ones that preceded religion, especially like in Greece, where it was a place where you took this psychedelic kikula, I think was the name.
Kikion.
Look, I don't want to really look for all of it real quick, but there was a section where they start talking about natives and how we had the really understanding, and how we should go back to the ways of the natives, because we understood the so-called energies of the trees and the herbs and blah, 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 blah. So what bothers me is I'm listening to this, and it's bothering me because they're acting as if we're one nation now. We're like one people. It is the elitists that is destroying us. Like they hadn't, like he said, well, the conquistadors came. Oh, you mean that's not you? Oh, okay. You talk about these elitists that supposedly is wanting to destroy all of us, right? Well, these elitists give you the platform. These elitists is the reason why you're there, Aubrey Marcus, or you, Mr. fucking secret salesman. This is he came out of the show The Secret. To me, it's amazing how now all of a sudden they think they ain't gonna pay for what they've done. Psalm 74:8. They said in their hearts, "Let us destroy them together." They have burned up all the synagogues in the synagogues of the God in the land. We see not our signs. There are no prophet. There are no more any prophets. Neither is there any. Neither is there among us any that knoweth how long. Well, not necessarily. That's why some of us have been brought back again, so to speak. So hopefully help you guys restore what has been lost. And not fall for this folly, this BS, all these lies. All these lies, family. Anyhow, listen, what I'm going to do is I will... let me see if I can stop right there. All right, so I'm gonna stop right there. I know there's a little bit. Nah, actually, you know what? Hold on a second. How much do I have left? Let me show you this real quick. This is why it's such a hypocrisy. You're all saying now that it's the elitist that is doing this. You're passing laws talking about claiming that it's not a nation of people. It's the devil. Teens' death in poultry plant shows continued child labor problem, feds say. 3 teenagers have died in the U.S. industrial accidents so far this summer. Three of our brothers, Duvan Perez, became the 3rd teenager. The 3rd one. 3rd one. Man, I don't know. Sometimes it just... Matter of fact, you know what? I'll end it like this. We know that some of us have wondered. Well, check this out. 2 Ezra 6 and 7, it says, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting of asunder of the time? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of that followeth? Remember Acts 1, when shall we get restored? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Keep in mind, Esau gave up their birthright, what belonged to him, right? Canaan is trying to steal that land that never has belonged to him. Do you understand how interesting things are becoming? Verse 28, and I'll end it with that. As for faith, it shall flourish. Let me repeat that again. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption, because we've been dealing with that for a long time, shall be overcome. And truth, which had been so long without fruit, that's why I keep bringing points about being a tree, about making sure that we harvest properly, about breaking that fallow ground in your mind, making sure that you properly repent and examine yourself if you're in the faith. Because this is why you need to bring forth good fruit. As for faith, but it comes from our action, it shall flourish if we apply ourselves. Corruption shall be overcome if you stop sinning in your mind. Listen, family, I listen to some of these dumb idiots from Sakari and shit. Sometimes I get these videos thrown at me, from brothers. And I'm like, listening to these dumb kids, bro. Y'all are stupid. Don't you think I would love to have all these kinds of women? Of course. What do you think? I'm dumb? But I understand the concept of what this world means. You guys keep hyping up the Messiah. Well, let me tell you what the Messiah did and didn't do. The Messiah, he didn't get married. So that means the Messiah wasn't having sex. So that means the Messiah was practicing abstinence. And in case you forgot, so was Paul. As for faith, it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth about how to be a real man, a real king, because we're not kings of this world. If we are spiritual, it's requiring much more than what you stupid asses are teaching. And the truth, which had been so long without fruit, y'all are trees, shall be declared. Family, y'all take care. Have a good night, man. Hopefully I'll see you again, okay? Take care, man. Shalom.
Miras a otro lado, los fantasmas del pasado no se detendrán hasta verte derrumbado. Peor es lo hemos hemos pasado. Andaba a golpes con la tristeza, me aportó riqueza, me otorgó sabiduría, pues se dibujaba en todas mis piezas. Yo con alegría le daba color después. La aguja sigue girando, tiempo parece se burlar de mí. Dijo que sanaría esperando, pero creo que la espina aún sigue ahí. Con los dedos no voy palpando, cierro los puños, escapa de aquí. Agonizando, no me espera el tiempo, no voy a esperar por ti.
Nuestras huellas en la orilla se han borrado por la marea. Si esas estrellas ya no brillan, las entiendo pa' que veas. Sea donde sea, bajo la tormenta o dentro de la odisea, donde arañas cubren el cielo de tela, los aviones nadan y los barcos vuelan. Aunque parezca que va bien, no sabes bien si va mal. Besos que pueden doler, ojos que pueden matar. Tengo mi alma en el almacén encerrada, mi corazón está en huelga, mis sentimientos en ámbar. Gente, Calamala dijo que estaría presente. Fallaron como nunca, se fueron para siempre. Millones de razones para vengarme, pero a veces duele más actuar indiferente.
Como no quieren ver ahogados, tenemos branquias y cerrados los bronquios como la mente de un guardia. Yo soy la montaña y vine con la cordillera. Más cojones que tu ganga tiene una madre soltera. Tú cúbrete si suena mi tu. A mí la tengo soldado fumando de su palulú. Ni un conjuro de grimorio me lo salva del velorio. Pa' tener pila valorio se matan vestidos de emporio. Y yo no quiero una pistola, estoy soñando que la vida que quería me llega a tiempo. Desde que yo la vi sola, loco ando. Vino a verme cuando el sol se estaba poniendo y se dejó una pluma y se perdió en la bruma. Nunca se despidió de mí, nunca se despidió de mí.
Vivo en un mundo que parece roto y sé que no, porque todo es perfecto y lo debo plasmar. Me fumo un trócolo tras otro y lo veo todo otro color. Me siento libre porque vuelvo a conectar. Mi gente sufre y no lo puedo evitar, más que dándole consejos siempre desde la humildad. Es su camino hacia la fraternidad. Solo puedo que enseñarles a respetar y amar. Con esta bendición, como no voy a aprovechar los códigos que llegan, los tenemos que aceptar. Si me reencarné fue para ayudar y no para malgastar mi tiempo en beneficio del mal. En la unión nace la fuerza y eso nos hace juntar las ganas que siempre tuvimos para iluminar a la gente que se le ocurra y la malla armonizar. Vinimos para dar fuego a la que no nos va a quemar.
Arde y por dentro la llama, no puedo contener la ras. Churruscao el corazón, el armazón no puede llegar a pesarme más. Si abro la boca, tu tumba al suelo, me muelo a diario y sobrado de gas. Escupo risas perfectas, paladas de versos eternos, no mueren jamás. Cuando acabe mi condena, me vi muy solo y perdido. Cada vez más negra la flema, más elegante el problema, pero planté cara a todos mis enemigos. Recuperé las ganas, las fuerzas y el garbo. Dedico requiems a mis diablos, que aquí estoy vivo de milagro. Delicadas flores crecieron entre los cardos. Me dicen bien, es más delgado que de costumbre. Será de tanto que he bailado en el alambre, que a tanta pena es mejor no ponerle nombre. Llevamos la música en vena, nuestra sangre.
Declaraciones.
Un poco sobreiluminado, sea bueno.
Sí, porque fue
El cielo es
Luego
nuestro.
levantó sol.
Miras a otro lado, no es más del pasado. No se detendrán hasta verte derrumbado. Peores lo hemos pasado.
If you've ever wondered how you and I could be any good for just $149, consider that we don't spend millions of dollars sponsoring sports teams. We don't spend millions of dollars on celebrities and crazy stunts. And instead of spending hundreds of millions a year on advertising like the other guys, we use me to endorse our brand. 5 foot tall, mother of 2, no acting experience whatsoever, and a price point to match. You see, we only spend on
Quiero pensar, pero no puedo, no. El ruido en la ciudad está consumiendo, Quieren pensar sin ni siquiera estar al mando. Tanta publicidad subliminal te está matando. Les cuesta decidir por sí mismos cuál es su mando. Publican sonrisas con el corazón llorando. Quieren brillar, pero sin tener que valerse de tener sus ideas propias. Los veo a todos igual, solo son la réplica de la imitación de una triste copia. Obedece, la vida es un suspiro y envejeces. Te dejas distraer por estupideces y pierdes el eje. Te duele por dentro, entonces te creces, pero aceptas mucho menos de lo que mereces. ¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar. ¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar. Conserva tu juicio y tu intuición, más activos que el que lucha por lo suyo y no se rinde. Yo ya sé bien cuál es mi misión, y es contarte que el mal por su propio pie pronto se extingue. No caigas bajo su control, pues por la televisión es normal que mal lo pinten. Tú mantente firme en conexión con la fuente de creación, vivirás siempre de fin de. Dios abre los ojos, dime lo que ves. A tus propios hijos matándose por billetes. Niños mueren cada 2 por 3. Pa' unos es bendición, con otros por su causa pequen. Y yo que intento ser un ser crístico, voy bendiciendo hasta los diablos. Piensan que es cierto el mensaje típico. Dicen que invento lo del engaño. Y mientras lucho contra mis errores, demonios escucho, me ofrecen soluciones. Pero sé que hay un ángel que quiere que mejore. Me dice haz un trabajo interno antes de que lo ignores, antes que otra vez llores y se llenen los mares de pena y de dolores, ya que en mi mente no caben. La paz no va en un sobre, somos algo importante. Nunca te revelaste y por eso no lo sabes. ¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar. ¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar. Me desperté tan cansado, me sentía mal herido de todo lo que he pasado. No me quita lo aprendido, por dentro me he perdonado, pero casi no me olvido. Me desperté tan cansado, me sentía mal herido de todo lo que he pasado. No me quita lo aprendido, por dentro me he perdonado, pero casi no me olvido, no. Todos repiten lo que dice el referente. Discursos vacíos lejos de ser coherentes. De lo que no sabes será mejor que no inventes. Que investigues y no te dejes lavar la mente. ¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decís, sobre cómo actuar?
Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar. ¿Y quién te ha dicho a ti que no puedes pensar sobre lo que decir, sobre cómo actuar? Lucha por ser feliz sin a nadie dañar y solo así podrás brillar. Quiero pensar, pero no puedo, no. El ruido en la ciudad está consumiendo.
Ical, hijo, abre los ojos. Ical, hijo, abre los ojos. Tu cuerpo se queda con nosotros, pero tu espíritu debe seguir. Busca la luz. Aléjate de las sombras. Deja que nuestro dolor sea tu fuerza. Desde aquí iluminamos tu camino. Lucha como nosotros ante esta pena tan grande. Yo soy tú. Tú eres yo. La muerte que hoy nos separa, mañana volverá a unirnos. Eres libre, hijo.